Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Unusual Mapping. So, this is episode 5 of working on a map where space and topography are compressed because distance is a distant second to presenting locations, events, and all that sort of stuff. The goal here is to create a map that is friendly for use on the tabletop, use on a VTT, all that sort of thing, and that conforms a little bit more strongly with more conventional and modern gaming practices, where things like travel distances and random encounters are de-emphasized and things are more about going to locations and doing things there. So we had a super busy week last week, got a lot of stuff done, and yeah, make that full size. Got a lot of stuff done, and now we're going to continue doing some more things. So we were putting some trails on here. There's some more quality of life improvements to do to this map, and I think that by the time we finish everything today, I'm going to have to take some quality time and come up with names for everything. And our next episode, we're actually going to go through like the labeling process and talk about how to get labels onto a map in such a way that it makes them not just easy to read, but allows them to convey information without concealing information and all that sort of good stuff. Yeah, labeling is a whole trip by itself. All right, so let's get into it. And of course, I'm Graham, also known as POCGamer. And if you haven't liked or subscribed yet, please like and subscribe. Help grow this YouTube channel. And yeah, let's have some fun today. So, where are we? So we've got a few different styles of trails that we can use here as paths. So solid, dotted, and dashed. And you can play around with it a little bit to create some variation. And that's all really nice. But we're not going to be using that quite yet. So what I'm concentrating on right now are the MSRs, the MSRs. Sorry, Army brain there, main service routes. What I'm concentrating on right now are the main roads, and I'm trying to delineate who owns the roads um, by color. And I'm just looking at yesterday's, or not yesterday's, last week's work, and I'm not super happy with it. Mostly because it's hard to distinguish. So I'm just going to get rid of those because that yellow's not popping against the green background. This green's not bad, but it's not obvious enough. And that's one of the big things that you'll find whenever you're working with trails, roads, paths, all that sort of stuff, is that you need they need to walk that fine line between being like painfully obvious and like dominating the map, and also um, not concealing everything underneath them. So yeah, these are just yeah, I was not happy with that. So like, what's going on up here? Like, I have a green one and then a brown one. That's just no good. Okay, everything else is still more or less fine. I'm still happy with how everything else is looking right now. Yeah, I like the towers. I like the little keeps. Might add some more of those around. I like that idea. Bunch of dragons, nice. So one thing I have to check when I export this map at the end of this session today is I'm gonna have to look and see how those dragons are looking because I did not check on that last week. Okay, so let's go back to our trails. Thickness 3. Okay, yeah, I like that. That's good. And we're going to go to segments. It's like we found out last week. The free draw is great, but it's more useful for when you're working on, a very fine detail map. The segmenting is more friendly for when you're dealing with a larger map because you can simply just click along and still have a decent approximation of what it might look like. So, nice. See, so this purple root here now, that actually shows up really nicely against the background. And it's not so obtrusive as to be distracting from the map. But it's also, okay. So then pick a dot. So when you're doing the segment or using dots for roots, your best friend for starting a new branch is a dot from the original one. You might be asking, why is there a road when there's a river right there? And the answer is simple. Rivers are not always reliable. They can freeze in the winter. They can be subject to floods, damage, all sorts of things like that. So they're great for trade, but having roads um, generally means that things will be flowing smoothly the entire time. It's sort of one of those subconscious things you have to think about while you're working on this stuff, is thinking about how the world works. Even on a compressed map like this, where we're not really paying as much attention to the time aspects of it, we're still paying attention to how the world works and trying to keep it not so much plausible as reasonable, because I think if we've learned anything over the years through all the arguments about how fantasy settings should work and all that sort of stuff, it's that plausibility falls out the window immediately the moment you're working with magical sorts of stuff. But a reasonable world where you can reasonably be like, yeah, I believe that, and you get that suspension of disbelief. That's where that sweet spot is for a lot of world design. All right. So what I'm doing here is so the route looks more like it's flowing through the woods, not just stamped on top of it. I'm just playing around with where the trees are appearing. And I know the definition doesn't look great on the screen, but this is one of those times where you need to remind yourself that it's going to look great once it's actually all done. There we go. Now it looks a little bit more like it's going through the woods to get over to the jungled area here. So I'm just going to take a moment here to write down the hex code for that purple so that if I want to use it again, I don't have to guess. Pulproot hex code 580 1 alpha 6. There we go. All right. So for the desert area here, I want to do something a little maybe there. Yeah, like that. Brown root is going to be 6 Foxtrot 2700. So when you're laying out tracks in deserts, there is a lot more thought to it because deserts are really unique environments that offer unique challenges to navigation, um, resource use, everything else like that. And so, even on a condensed map like this, as tempting as it might be to just like draw straight lines all over the place, but yep, that's our road network, good to go. It adds more flavor and more um, interest to the map. It becomes visually more interesting to look at if you still, again, give those reasonable, believable sorts of mods to it, or not mods, appearances to it. And like any other sort of extreme environment, the best and clearest, straightest route might not always be the best choice. And so, looking at this map here, and what I've done is I could have, let's see here, there we go. So, what I could have done is I could have just made a line that went straight over to here, and then had a little detour coming down here to little oasis fort. Instead, the obvious straight route isn't in action, and so this leaves space for creativity. What's in there? Why can they not go? Is it sort of like, is it just trackless desert where there's absolutely nothing? Is there some sort of monstrous threat? Um, or magical hazard? Is there something happening there that prevents that straight line navigation from point A to point B? And this is all information that you can present with a map. Now, whether or not people pick up on it, totally different story. Because we're mostly used to using maps to convey spatial information, like culturally here in the West, and we're not as used to them offering us like world building hints or game hints in the sense of like you could do this with this space because the way our brains have been conditioned to look at maps, we look at it like, oh, it's just empty space. There's nothing there. Why does it matter? So it's just more things to think about. So I'll adjust those palm trees later. After I get this right down to here. Oh, I can't move them up. Hmm. Something odd's happening. Okay, so I'm going to save. Hmm. So get rid of that completely. Let's go to that. Select stamps. Hmm. Why won't it let me? Showing them there. So now we're into the troubleshooting part of the episode that I did not anticipate coming up. So as you can see, when I'm selecting things now, instead of letting me, it's not giving me the option. It's not giving me the options that it normally gives. And I don't know why. So we're just going to back out of there. That's fine. hopefully this will renew it. And we'll go back to normal. It seems normal so far. Let's come back down here. Yeah, there we go. So sometimes you just have to turn it off and on again. That was legitimately quite strange. I've never had that happen where it was giving me the option to stretch and distort, which is kind of cool. Like I can absolutely see the utility in that. Were I not doing this, but wow, that was weird and unusual. Let's go to circles. I believe my width was 3. And this is why I wrote down the hexes. Yeah, segments. Like I was saying before, the trick with working with segments is to just click frequently while it's moving along, and you can still achieve a fairly natural looking road or pathway. So let's take a look at fit screen. Pardon me. Yeah, so this is already looking miles better than where we left off last week. The paths are far more obvious. They're not dominating the map. Looks really good. It looks really good. I am, however, just going to do a quick save as a clone. And the reason I'm doing this, the save as a clone function here, is because before I go too nuts with getting all the roads out onto it and all that sort of information onto it, I've already got all the locations placed, and the map is more or less looking good as it is. And so by saving it as a clone, what I can do is, if I want to show shifts through time, I don't have to go back and necessarily erase all the paths or all the things that are on it. I'll already have starting points to do everything. And where this comes up is it doesn't happen very often, but some people do play games where things occur over the course of generations or large time skips, and stuff changes. And by doing this, this allows you to use time skips on your map much more easily than you would otherwise. All right. And yeah, I'm going to put something like maybe a cave or something there. So what I'm envisioning as a potential location or event would be to have like a cave you could enter into here that would take you over into this desolate area. So you wouldn't have to go over the mountains, but that'd be like a whole dungeon crawl adventure in of itself. Oh, there we go. So this is why it's always good to take a peek at what's going on, because it's so easy to miss stuff on a map. So in case you in case you missed it, here this mountain was concealing the top of this mesa and part of this one, and so I just had to redo their hierarchy to get them all showing properly. And let's see here. Go back to trails. I'm not sure what's going to be back here yet, but it's going to be something cool. There we go. Thinking pyramid or something over here, maybe? I don't know. I think that'd be cool. But again, stuff to add um, when we start breaking these locations down even more. Because just zooming out here to the fit screen, you can see we roughly have 4 locations, all that have their own thing going on. So you've got like this Rift Valley sort of operation leading up to an Arctic area with sunken lands around it. We have this area down this quarter right here. We've got like some sort of magic forest, a nation, and a jungle area down here. We've got a really cool desert area with all sorts of cool stuff going on. And then up here we've got some swamps, some mountains, dragons, and a wasteland with a volcano. So things are happening. And that's the goal of when you're creating a good campaign map. Or actually, not even a good one, just like creating a campaign map is to help drive interest. There's a really good thread I retweeted the other day on it about like the importance of when you're creating maps to make the areas visually distinct and to use that to drive interest in them. Um, and it's something I wholeheartedly agree with. All right, let's place a few. Flip horizontally. Sure, it's not over top of the grid work. All right. I'm just gonna check size of the other little cavern I threw down. How big was this one? Size 100. Really? Okay. That size 90. That's pretty big. So I'm just gonna leave that as is. That's a nice obvious entrance to something. Something's happening. Just a stamp. Whoa. How small size it is the size of the main city. Yeah, that'll definitely be something to add. We're working more regionally. Wow, that was huge. Those trails are done. Those ones are done. There we go. I like that. Nice little lakeshore road here. That's Lost and Dragon, so there's no road headed up to that. That's a swamp. No, this area needs a village. So use the dwarf buildings. Well, they don't really give an option for oh, how big is this thing? 100. Okay. Want to make sure that our sizes all match. And again, this is a case of like I'm using these the dwarf icons, but doesn't necessarily mean that I'm using dwarf as like a lineage or an ancestry for this area. You could do it absolutely, but it's not required. I'm just happen to like these icons; they look cool as hell. These are 50% sized. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's 100. Yeah, that's also the wrong tree. forest a little bit. And let's give these guys another tower. Alright, so there's another tower, and we'll add some more trail here. These up a layer. All right. Looking good. Yeah, I'm way happier about those road trail sorts of systems than the old ones. Now let's add, almost forgot to add a compass star to this. Yeah, there's a function to create heraldry, which is really fun, and something that I'll get into with we get down into the more granular things and use the stamps here to create nice little heraldry icons for everybody. So, well, like I love that it's giving so many more options than it used to. It's phenomenal. Oh, there are karsts. Oh, we're about to get wild. Okay. Yeah, karst landscapes. Karst is okay. So if you don't know what karst landscapes are, karst landscapes are where there's large amounts of limestone in the ground, and the mineral composition of the actual rocks around it are just sort of right, so that when it mixes with rainwater, flood water, all that sort of stuff, it dissolves, and you end up with these really cool spires of rock reaching up into the air, surrounded by like rivers or like low valleys and stuff like that. It's some of the most beautiful landscapes you could possibly see. There's some really cool karst landscapes in like the Balkans and Europe that I've seen that were just amazing. There's also there's a bunch in Asia too. A few other places that are really awesome, and I did not realize that we had the option of doing karst stuff. Up in a karst region there. Yeah, that is a good description. They are interesting. Okay, so what size do we do these mountains? 200. Okay. Hmm. So this is why it also pays to like look through your stuff every so often. It's like, look at this. Missed out on some mountain types. Dark mountains. That's awesome. Yeah, stamps. Definitely going to be revisiting the stamps. So, geez. Oh, they've got baobab trees now. That is phenomenal. I may add some of those on here too. Oh, they're classified as simple trees. Really? Oh, yeah, I guess so. Interesting. So look at the selection of foliage here versus this one here. Yeah, karst landscapes are dangerous. Yes, absolutely. Cut some holes out. We're going to move to our stamps. Yes, I've encountered the sinkholes and disappearing streams. I didn't know about the blue holes though. That's interesting. It's the sinkholes. That was a problem around where I was in the Balkans years ago. Um, there were some areas where just like yeah, just sinkholes just open up and swallow everything up, and so like the locals were quite switched on keeping track of what areas had those issues and keeping all their livestock and everything else out of them. Those spaces were also generally free of landmines, which was nice. Too many layers up. Oh yeah, this was too many layers up as well. Okay, I see what I have to do. I would like to go diving in a blue hole one day, though. There's a few really cool ones, um, and I would love to go down to my maximum depth in a blue hole, get some cool photos, and come up. But oh, Kentucky North of Mammoth. Oh, okay, I've heard of Mammoth Cave. That's cool. That's really cool. Oh yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Now I'm thinking about diving into Blue Hole. Um, and I know from a diving perspective that the big danger blue holes pose to divers is that it's really easy to stop, to get disoriented, believe it or not, when you're diving down in them, because it's basically a wall dive, except for you have like 360-degree wall, like you sort of like your descend, and if you don't watch your depth, there's been too many divers that have gone too deep, or other ones that suffered like narcosis and just like kept going down. So it's one of those things I want to do, but it's like a risky dive that needs to be absolutely planned before it gets executed. See, and right here we have catapulted this um, magic forest sort of region. So, by going through looking at stamps that are available, and now it's looking far more visual. Like it is visually distinct in an interesting way. And that's also going to give us a lot more to work with down the road when we start doing the micro maps for these areas. Oh yeah, absolutely. That's sorry. I'm responding to a comment here about being sucked away by currents. Yeah, it's blue holes, especially ones that are connected to cave networks, are some of the most terrifying things I can imagine as a diver, because there's such complex terrain and you're being affected by currents and flows of water that you can't even like you can't see their source. Like recently, there was a an article I read about, pardon me, some inexperienced divers who decided to do a cave dive, which is never a good plan. Like, unless you are a trained cave diver, stay out of caves. Cannot emphasize that enough. But they went on a dive there. They lost one of their guys. Unfortunately, there was a dive fatality involved, and um, equipment started coming out somewhere else or something like that. Like it was, they estimate that the cave they dove into was connected up to other caves and other water networks, and there were currents moving through it that were just pushing everything around. And yeah, there's no way to tell um, what happened or anything, and they're of course unable to unfortunately recover their friend because of that. And so yeah, ooh, that is why we plan the dive, dive the plan. Sorry about going off on a diving tangent there. I am still a very proud and very excited scuba diver, even though I'm like I'm over 400 dives now, something like that. And I am still adamant about diving safely because I like being alive and I like being able to do stuff like this. Um, and like learn cool stuff like you grew up by a mammoth cave and things like that, and yeah. Okay, so I like that. I like that the fact that we've got going on there now. That's cool. And I want to do so the desert. I'm happy with. I'm happy with that area here. I need to find in this jungle area down here, I think. So I think our main roads are mostly done now, but I think like looking at it, so I hit the save button here. I think one of the things that I need to do is make stuff pop a little bit more, like I just did. Um, just because, like, at least to me, like the giant trees, those were cool, and those started telling a story and started generating interest. But by being able to add those karsts in, it makes the that region more visually distinctive. And I'm wondering what else, like what other options I have. Mountains, nature. Okay, I'm curious. What's nature? Oh, nature's just clouds. Oh, and like low hanging fog. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that'll be something to play with later. Let's see a comment here. Let's see. I love it. I go off on a tangent about geography. Oh yeah, absolutely. Geology and geography is amazing. And if you ever want to have like just read stuff that just fuels your imagination for like world creating and things like that, geoarchaeology, like the study of paleo landscapes and stuff like that. It's it is wild. Like that was the area that I was moving towards when I was doing my studies, and yeah, it's it's geography, geology, and archaeology all joining together into a single amazing whole. All right, so got icons, got those trees. That's it. There's decorations. Yeah, I should probably add some decorations at some point. Animal illustrations. Interesting. Okay. It's parchmentworld.net. Oh yeah, it's our cities. So we have the regional area. Some wrecks, some ruins. Oh, that is way better than this. Yeah, well, that's one of the things with this program that you sort of have to watch out for is that they've got stuff scattered between regional and world, and for reasons that I don't understand, they haven't done a one for one um, stamp development program or system. There we go. Yeah, because you're right. Like you come in here, you go open catalog, yeah, and this is where your waterfalls, your waves are, flames, some of the cooler mesa options and mesa arches, stalagmites, birds. I'm at a whirlpool somewhere. Now that is. Actually, I'm going to do that now. So I've been thinking about that for a while. So this gap's been bothering me. So what I can do tomorrow or do next week is I'll do some building up around that. Let's see here, just a quick peek before we do the recap here. What else have we got in here? Okay, animals, vegetation. Oh, here's the. Oh, there we go. Here's the snowy buildings. Okay, the Viking settlements. Put that horizontal. Oh, is that not an option? Okay, can't flip it, but that's fine because that looks better. There we go. All right, so let's zoom out to fit screen. Hit that save button and look over what happened today. This is a good day. All right, so um, a lot of stuff happened today on the map, more than anticipated, and in an absolutely good way. So first off, we got rid of all the trails and roads from the map from last week just because they didn't pop. They weren't visually there, and yeah, that was no good. I enjoy looking lore based around the map first. Absolutely, maps are amazing inspirations for lore, and to me as well, they are a huge imagination aid. So we did all these roads, made them visually distinct, sort of shows who owns them, what's going on with them. Told a little bit of a story with how we place the maps in the desert area. Like what's happening in here, that there's no direct shot from point A to point B. And we've connected up all the little forts, and we have this sort of going off into this mesa area here where we're going to drop a pyramid when we're doing that quadrant. So that's all good. Forts are all good. At the right at the end here, we've added the a snowy Viking castle there because it's more thematically appropriate because it actually has snow on it. Through a whirlpool here because whirlpools are cool. We did a few little additions into this area here, adding a couple little villages, or oh, these are going to be the icons for villages at this scale, and another tower. So that looks good. And the desert also got a entry to a cave, which would take you over to the desolate area over there. And finally, the other big thing that we did today was, I looked through the stamps and discovered that karsts were an option, and so I've thrown a bunch of karst landscape stuff into this enchanted forest area, and it has really made it visually distinctive, really made it look interesting, and yeah, that's looking really great. So I'm super happy with how everything's gone today. And next week, I'm gonna have to come up with some names for stuff because we're gonna have to start doing some labeling, and we'll do some little quality of life improvements up around the whirlpool. Maybe we'll toss a little island there too, just sort of like complete the map. And I'd like to do something in this area here. Like basically, it's this stretch here needs a little bit more something, just to make them look that much more interesting. But I like how this is going. Yeah, it's not too crowded, so it's not overwhelming, and it's already sending some interesting messages and ideas. So that's been pretty good overall. Thank you everybody for watching. If you if you still are, thanks for the great conversation that we've been having. Off on tangents about diving, karst landscapes, geography, and geology, which is all great stuff. Um, you can find me as POCGamer on Facebook, Instagram, um, and Twitter. I'm Pangeline over on TikTok, and I'm probably get a TikTok out the next couple of days, talking about some cyberpunk stuff. And yeah, please like and subscribe, and I hope you all have a great day. Take care.